to damnation with you!
Hi, welcome back everyone. My last couple of builds were really expensive. They were built to be able to farm all content in the game, so hence the price. This time I will try to create something much cheaper, which will be designed to do some specific farm and excel in it. But before that, if by the end of the video you will think that I did a great job, don't forget to like and subscribe. It will help me a lot. After the release of my fastest wing leveling video, I always had thought of creating a build with the same idea. There are several main ways of playing Lightning Warp builds. The first one is playing as a bow character while using Assonance Helmet. This league you could greatly scale the build by instacking and using bow with Energy Shield as a cold damage enchant. It has really great potential, but the gearing would be almost identical to my previous build, so I won't be going this route. But I definitely recommend you to try to build it yourself. Second way of playing this build, using Lightning Warp as a main source of damage. Use combination of Poet's Pen and Squire. This version will be worse than the bow one, but it's also pretty good. But I chose to go completely different way. I will be using Poet's Pen while dealing the damage with the Kinetic Blast of Clustering. This is pretty well known skill at this point, so I'm not gonna explain everything in detail and just gonna briefly talk about it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments below. The main idea of Kinetic Blast of Clustering is to get as much explosions on one enemy as possible. To achieve this, we are using combination of the spell Slinger Tornado and Fork in the main links. And since this skill gem scales with mana, there are no better ascendancy than Hierophant for mana stacking. Okay. Now let's talk about the Lightning Warp itself. Those of you who saw my Twin Cleven video will already know what I'm going to talk about. Firstly, we need to reduce the duration of Lightning Warp as much as we can. Since GGG changed reduced duration support to less duration support, it became pretty hard to reduce the duration of skill to 0. Note that in PoE, reduced and less duration are completely different modifiers. First one is additive, while the other one is multiplicative. For my leveling build, I use 2 unique rings for 40% reduced duration, but they're basically worthless for endgame. So how can we reduce the duration without them? Firstly, I'm using 3 passives on a tree, they give 25% in total. Then I'm using pretty much never used haste ring, which will reduce the duration by 15% if it's in the left ring slot. Unfortunately, if you reflect it with Calandra's ring, it will count as a ring in the right slot, so they will cancel each out. But it's kinda weird, because we are reflecting the ring, might be a bug, but I don't know. Then the Lightning Warp itself has reduced duration, which is scaled by the level of the gem. So I'm using level 21 Lightning Warp, linked with the level 4 Empower and less duration. Also Lightning Warp gets plus levels from the wand itself. In total I have 96% reduced and 60% less duration of Lightning Warp. I will get 1 additional percent when I hit level 100, but unfortunately this is the ceiling without the unique rings or amulet. Okay, now we need to reduce the cooldown of the trigger itself. Luckily, Lightning Warp is a movement skill, so it's not that hard. We have 2 key CDR breakpoints. Ideally, you want to have 153% of CDR, but with my current version I have only 90. To achieve 90%, I'm using Implicit on the boots, Haste Mode on the Watcher's Eye and 2 passives on the tree. Then you need to have as much attack speed as possible. Some of you might say that you will get less triggering rate if you go over the cap, and you would be completely right. But don't forget that the Kinetic Blast is not only the triggering skill, it's a damaging skill as well. So the trade-off is definitely worth it. Well, this is it when it comes to the key interaction of the build. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments below. Let's quickly recap the gear and the tree. The total cost of this version is around 50 div or even less. I bought almost everything from the market and didn't craft much. This is generic int and mana stacking gear. For the main weapon I'm using Poet's Pen with as much attacks per second as you can get from the trade. The helmet is any helmet with int, mana and ES. Same goes for the body armor and the boots. Intelligence, energy shield and mana. I bought the shield with fracture spell damage, used several essences of spite until I hit these and decided to stop. Amulet is default at Ziri's Foible. When it comes to the rings, I crafted both of them using, what do you think? Right, essences of spite, to get int, mana and ES. For the belt I decided to use Headhunter since I wanted this build to be a mapper and also because Kinetic Blast of Clustering is a physical skill, so it will gain a lot of benefits from the rare mods. And for the main piece of the gear, since we need a lot of attack speed, I decided to use 8 linked gloves. They are pretty easy to craft. First you need to buy Elder Base, then use Glyphic and Shattering Fossils until you hit faster attacks and more attack speed. Then you need to have an open suffix and prefix. If you know me, I am extremely unlucky with the annuls. Then lock suffixes and reforge crit and hope to get T1. Then lock suffixes again and reforge speed for faster projectile mod. And that's basically it. The flasks are literally some random flask that I had laying around in my stash to get me res capped and for some explosions. Now let's go over the tree. This is pretty much default mana stacker 1 tree. We get some useful nodes and getting 3 big clusters. I bought those clusters for less than 1 div each, the only expensive jewel, Forbidden Flesh and Flame for Radiant Fate passive. For my main links I'm using Kinetic Blast with Sacred Wisps, Returning Projectiles and Awakening Fork or Chain. I'm currently testing and for me Awakening Chain is better for clear. Then custom damage taking Immortal Call setup. For the auras I'm using Flesh and Stone, Pride, Haste, Herald of Purity, Precision and level 4 Enlighten, but you can use level 3 as well. Sniper's Mark and Mark on Hit, Vitality and Tornado with Spellslinger for better explosions. And Lightning Warp with Empower and less duration itself. This build has pretty mediocre max hits, good recovery rate and not that much DPS. But you should not forget about the Headhunter buffs and overlapping of explosions, so it's higher. But don't expect from this version insane level of damage. The gear and everything is pretty bad. Right now I'm thinking of the ways to improve the build. I tried to play Power Siphon of Archmage. The clear speed might be even better compared to the Kinetic Blast, and you get this flicker strike feeling of gameplay. For some reason I actually enjoyed playing this skill as well, so I'm still thinking. Should I play Kinetic Blast or swap to Power Siphon? Kinetic benefits more from Headhunter, but I would love to change to Mage Blood or some in-stacking belt. Power Siphon on the other hand has more room for scaling with Doriani's prototype. I don't know. If you have any suggestions, feel free to post them in the comments below. Anyways, this is it guys. If you like the content, don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!